What's going on, people? We're back for another video. Can you believe it? We are firing them out over here at Bold Man Wanderer Studios. And today we have got this guy, Professor Tim Wilson, looking very suave in his green, with his pink shirt and his bow tie. I mean, he seems like my kind of guy. Yeah, I mean the title is The Future of Young People in Britain. So it's kind of a running theme, isn't it? Talking about the future and yeah, Britain, of course. Gosh, this place, this once great island. Where are we today, folks?
Britain has produced a generation with enormous potential but increasingly little direction. The state, schools, technology, and companies and employers have all helped create this condition as
I do feel like we are very, very smart people, the Brits. I do feel that. Like I feel like myself personally. I know. Not gonna toot my own horn or anything, but I personally think I'm a genius. So how do Brits rank in intelligence? And obviously intelligence, it depends how you're gonna measure that. But we can take a quick look. Go the fuck away. Average IQ by country. So wow, this is a cool little map, isn't it? Um Whoa, let's just check this out. So low is the green. Oh gosh, look at Africa. You're hitting the greens over there. Um Sneaking up to Mexico's a bit low. Who's that? Nicaragua. Oh, you Nicaraguans. Damn. Iran. Pretty clever. Brits. We're at 100. 100? What did I say? 101. Yeah, 101. And that is with all the fluoride. And fluoride is well known for knocking down the IQ quite a few pegs. So we're still doing well despite, drinking neurotoxins for our entire life. Is what it is. You just can't, you can't make it up. Let's see what he's saying then.
well as well as iPhones, and the political class is beginning to realize the danger, but still lacks the seriousness and coherence needed to confront it properly. Starting with the scale of the problem, nearly 1 million young people in Britain are now classified as NEETs, not in education, employment, or training. Official figures put that number roughly between 946,000 and 957,000, depending on the
It's not surprising, is it? Considering we just looked at the low, the unemployment rate in the youth at 16 odd percent is quite significant. And they're not training, they're not doing anything, basically. We're just wasting 1 million people. 1 million people. But then there's also like millions of people who aren't doing anything and they're adults as well.
quarter measured. Youth unemployment has climbed to 16.2%, the highest for more than a decade, and that is not a statistical curiosity. It should be a national alarm bell. Alan Milburn calls this an economic catastrophe. David Miliband, speaking at the Hay Festival, speaks about a welfare state still designed for an aging industrial Britain.
I mean, aren't Labour like responsible for the welfare state? Aren't they just like encouraging it? They're not doing anything about it. They're not allowing businesses to expand. Like people can't make their own business, not very easily. You go around Asia and everyone's got a shop. Everyone's selling something. It's not a problem. And they don't need to sell much to get by.
Rather than a digital future. Even Rishi Sunak, hardly a socialist revolutionary, warns AI and automation threaten younger workers and suggests radical
16% at the minute. What's it going to be like in 15 years, 20 years? Oh my gosh, it's unthinkable. I can't imagine the travesty that we are about to witness.
tax changes to keep them employed. When politicians from Labour modernisers Blairites, technocrats, centrists, and conservatives all circle the same issue. Something serious is happening. Britain increasingly looks like a country where older people own houses, dominate the wealth, control voting patterns, and consume the public spending, while younger people who didn't want Brexit, who don't want to reform, drift.
Okay, first of all, I would disagree that younger people didn't want Brexit. Unless he's talking like 18-year-olds. Yeah, sure, fair enough. But there's plenty of young people out there who did want Brexit.
In a fog of anxiety, debt, distraction, and underemployment, that is socially dangerous. Historically, countries become unstable when the young cease believing effort leads anywhere worthwhile. The Romans understood this, so did the Victorians, so did the post-war Attlee government when it built apprenticeships, technical colleges.
It's obviously a very big thought, isn't it, that society is going to collapse. And honestly, based on what we've seen around here recently, based on the level of prosperity of, well, me, the only reason I guess why we're not collapsing is because the boomers do have the wealth and the boomers can support their children. But a lot of the children are being supported by boomers. They're not making anything out of themselves. They're not going to be like majorly successful, but they'll just tick on by until AI comes along. That is when things get bad. When no one's got anything. When robots are doing all the job. When you don't even need to type any accounting information in, you know?
And national infrastructure. A society survives when younger generations feel needed. Today, many young Britons feel optional. And there is cruel irony here. This generation is not unintelligent, quite the reverse. Many are technologically sophisticated, psychologically aware, politically engaged, socially adaptive, but they're also exhausted, fragmented, overstimulated. And Milburn's description of a bedroom generation is bleak but recognizable. Young people strolling until 2 or 3 in the morning. Not strolling, scrolling. I should have said until 2 or 3 in the morning. Young people permanently online, yet increasingly isolated. Young people with fewer workplace experiences, lower concentration spans, disrupted sleep, and rising anxiety. The smartphone has become both the companion and the captor. An entire civilization has conducted a neurological experiment on children without fully understanding the consequences. Attention spans shrink, dopamine cycles intensify, comparison culture becomes relentless, failure becomes public, loneliness becomes algorithmic.
Like a whole nation of bipolar, ADHD, depression. How did we get here? How did we get here? What happened? Can someone explain that to me? What actually happened that we have become this mess? It is a mess. Anyone with half a brain can see it's a mess. Um, oh my god! Like seriously, who did this? Who the hell did this? It's a mess. And you're born into it. You can't do a lot about it. You need everyone to come together. But despite the fact that we're more connected, we're so like oppositional. We don't get on with each other. We can't agree with each other. Like politics is just fractioning. And then we can't ever achieve anything. It just doesn't make sense. Why can't we just figure something out and use our brains?
Monetized, and yet adults often respond by calling young people lazy. That is intellectually lazy in itself. John Boomfrey of Amazon made an important point when he said this is not a motivational problem, it's a system problem, and he's right. Britain spent decades telling young people university was the singular route to dignity. Then graduate salaries stagnated, housing collapsed out of reach, apprenticeships weakened, local industries disappeared, entry-level jobs were automated or outsourced, hospitality work shrank under wage pressures and technology. At the same time, schools became exam factories. Teachers were not teaching students how to learn, they were teaching people how to pass exams. Young people increasingly move through education without learning how workplaces function, how teams operate, how to negotiate conflict, how to fail constructively.
I can speak for myself on that matter as well. How I didn't get. I wasn't like particularly a part of a team at school. There was no team ethic. Like, I mean, I joined the sports teams, but with like kids, we're not like a team. We want to score the goal. I want to score the try. I want to do it all myself. I was not a team. And then I wasn't particularly even very social. I mean, some people, they got the genes, they got everything. They're healthy, they're social, they're happy, and things just slide together. But that is just not the way for everyone. I'm not even saying like it was all bad for me, but like school, I didn't get workplaces. I just didn't get it. Like my brain didn't know it because I'd never been in it, you know? And I was always told like education, 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 education. And then I'm taught the same as everyone. Educate yourself, get a decent job. I educated myself as much as I possibly could, but without getting any trades. And then just couldn't get any like substantial career. You know what I mean? I got a job at the minute, but it's nothing substantial.
How to build long term resilience or long term friendships. And then we express shock when they struggle. And, and of course, all lessons are conducted in the same absurd method. You walk into, I was told the other day, if you don't walk into a class and give students something to do, and then speak only for 5 minutes as a teacher, you get marked down if you're being observed. That is absurd. So I'm not surprised when I pick up students who have been sent to me for some sort of remedial work or extra tuition or whatever, or I'm asked to go into a school and teach. I'm not surprised when I ask a question and students turn around and say, well, they have no idea what the answer is. They don't know. When this is on the syllabus or something, some basic thing that they ought to know if they've been studying the subject. Because, and I look at their textbooks, this was something they did 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. Why do
Because they don't have the attention span. I mean, he said it himself. He's blaming teachers, but when the kids don't have the attention span and when they're grouped all together and then they're not like hardworking adults, they're kids who want to mess around and play and they don't focus, they're not interested. And then kids, like, I just don't think they don't retain a lot of stuff. I mean, I know they say kids are like sponges, but some stuff, like, just in one ear, out the other.
not they know? Because they haven't actually studied it. Because they've been put in groups to research, and it doesn't work because they don't know how to research. They haven't been taught how to research. They haven't been taught how to use their memory.
I do think, like, there is a lot of hate for schools and teachers, but I don't necessarily agree, to be honest. I think teachers work very hard, and I don't think teachers go into the situation thinking, you know what, I'm gonna get these kids ready for like corporate life and sit down, be quiet. No, they try and teach, they try and educate.
They put things on the computer and they think that that is then stored for them. It's not, it's stored for the computer. And work is not merely income. Work structures identity, routine, confidence, and social interaction. Without those structures, whether it's work or education, anxiety deepens. And this connects to David Miliband's wider point about Britain's future. He argues the country faces multiple simultaneous transformations. The global
Well, this guy's doing all right for himself. He's got 200 odd thousand subscribers. But I mean, anyone who knows Ed Miliband quotes, then gosh, I'm a bit concerned. And he's making like a valid point. Like the kids are in trouble, but why is he bringing up Ed Miliband so much? He ain't gonna do anything for us.
order is shifting, technology is restructuring the economy, government itself needs reinvention, welfare must move from predominantly servicing aging demographics towards investing in younger generations. That's a profound statement, because Britain increasingly spends vast sums managing decline rather than building renewal. Look at the imbalance. Older homeowners often enjoy protected assets, triple locked pensions, accumulated wealth inflation. Meanwhile, many younger Britons face insecure work, impossible rents, delayed family formation, and permanent economic uncertainty. A civilization cannot sustainably consume its future work.
Those boomers, man. Those boomers, they got it all. They got everything. They're hoarding. And then meanwhile, their wealth is being inflated away. And most of them don't even realize that, because they're BBC supporters, they're followers, they get their information from the BBC and they are just getting inflated. So soon, maybe they'll die before they've got nothing, but whatever they've got left is going to shrink a lot by the time they die.
Workforce while morally congratulating itself. And there's another uncomfortable truth. Britain's political class often treats youth policy as public relations theatre rather than structural reform. There are endless slogans about opportunity, aspiration, and skills, but where is the coordinated national mission? Germany built technical prestige into apprenticeship. Singapore aggressively aligned education with economic planning. South Korea invested heavily in technology sectors while reshaping in educational competitiveness. Britain often produces white papers, consultations, and ministerial sound bites, but it doesn't seem to do anything. David Miliband is correct when he says politics risks obsessing over who, not what. Leadership dramas dominate headlines, while long-term institutional decay continues quietly underneath. Meanwhile, employers complain they cannot find.
But that's all a setup, as far as I'm concerned. That is corruption. That is like deliberately not wanting the Brits to succeed. It's like you watch the BBC and they don't talk about anything like deep and meaningful and like something that's gonna actually change the direction of this country. No, they talk about like just the most simple basic stuff, and they go only like a millimeter under the skin. They don't go all the way in. It's all deliberate, like it's all set up. How are you gonna stop a system where the people in power are like intentionally keeping you down? And then there's people out there that don't even think it's like that way. So the people won't even admit that they're being kept down by the system.
Skilled labor, while hundreds of thousands of young people remain economically inactive. And that contradiction should horrify policymakers. Milburn makes another important argument. Diagnoses such as ADHD, autism, or anxiety should not automatically become pathways into permanent worklessness. That point requires care and compassion, but also realism. A humane society supports mental health struggles, but a functional society, also integrates people into meaningful contribution wherever possible. And it starts with education and it continues with work. Otherwise, welfare systems become holding pens for abandoned human potential. And once somebody spends years detached from employment, reintegration becomes exponentially harder. And this is why the issue is not merely economic, it is civilizational. Idle youth populations historically create political volatility. Alienation mutates into resentment. Social trust weakens, radical movements flourish. One sees hints already. Some young people retreat entirely into online worlds. Others.
A lot of people will. There's a lot of money to be made in retreating into online worlds, by the way. So that's one opportunity that they've still got. One of the key opportunities that everyone has.
Drift towards conspiracy culture, nihilism, or performative.
Conspiracy culture? Damn, he's talking about me. Oh my god, the fluoride's gonna get us. Trust me. Don't drink the fluoride. That is bad, folks. That is bad for you. That is like more evidence that, we are controlled by people who do not give a hell about us, Like they're putting fluoride in this water. The fluoride is banned in countries all over the place. No one's doing anything. Nobody. Nobody even talks about fluoride, really. I mean, yeah, you can drink bottled water and buy filters, and then you don't have to talk about it. Fair enough. But it's a cultural thing that everyone, and you go to work and it's just all like fluorinated water, right? So, like, if you're not prepared and you didn't bring your bottled water, or you just want boiled water quick and you got to share the kettle, that kind of thing, it's just you're gonna get a dose of fluoride. Uh, yeah, but for some reason, like, it's still in our water when there's evidence that it is like toxic. Like, hello, evidence that we are hated by the people who control us. That is it.
Politics. Some vote reform. Others oscillate between hyper-anxiety and complete disengagement. A country where millions feel disconnected from productive life eventually loses coherence. Even language changes. Young people increasingly describe themselves as burnt out before 30. That should terrify us.
I've been there 100%, 100%, but that is like, I think that's a lot about diet. I've changed my diet massively, like in the last year. So not even like for a long time. It's just the last year, and I've felt like a lot fitter, a lot healthier by doing what I'm doing. And I'm trying to stick to keto at the minute, but I'm definitely sticking to low carb as possible. Unless I'm really tired, then I'll eat some chips and stuff.
Burnt out once described exhausted factory workers or overburdened executives. Now teenagers use the term casually, and COVID intensifies all this. Many of today's 16 to 24-year-olds experienced lockdowns during formative years. Social development fractured, educational continuity collapsed, isolation became normalized, online existence accelerated dramatically. The effects were not temporary. We're still living with them. But there's another dimension often ignored. Britain increasingly lacks collective ambition. Post-war Britain once built cities, industries, transport systems, and scientific projects with visible national confidence. Young people
I feel like it's everyone for their self here, despite the fact that, like the United Kingdom rally, like everyone turned up, everyone's pro Britain. It would benefit everyone if we had a strong Britain. That's where we turn up. But then when we get to our little circles, it's still everyone for themselves because it's so difficult to get a job. And then when you get a job, you want to keep it. And then, yeah, you complications in that. But yeah, I do think like we're not ambitious. We're not like helpful to each other. We're not a good society. I always thought that we just never like socialized very well. But then I'm one of the worst for not socializing, to be fair.
could see tangible futures. Today, politics often feels managerial, fragmented, defensive. Young people absorb this atmosphere. And if adults communicate directly, if adults communicate decline directly and constantly, younger generations internalize decline psychologically. And that is where David Miliband's emotional language matters. He speaks of Britain as my homeland. He insists the country still possesses enormous strengths, and I agree with him. That emotional seriousness is important because nations require belief in themselves to mobilize renewal. Without confidence, reform collapses into cynicism. Now, none of this means smartphones alone caused the crisis. They didn't. Technology interacts with housing failures, educational distortion, economic stagnation, collapsing local institutions, and weakened family stability. But phones intensify everything. They compress attention, they commercialize insecurity, they replace physical community with algorithmic stimulation. A teenager
The guy is hating on phones a lot. I would possibly say that those things that he's just described are the bigger problem, but he's blaming the phones as the bigger problem. So that ideology of the broken home, Mass migration he hasn't seemed to have mentioned at all, and just the lack of Britishness. The I don't. It's better to be a part of the world. Britain. Oh, it's so lame. Britain's so lame. Why do you want to have a good Britain? It's so lame.
Today often experiences more social comparison before breakfast than previous generations experienced in months. Human beings were not psychologically designed for perpetual digital exhibition. Thirdly and finally, the danger is not merely that Britain underuses its youth, the danger is that Britain stops believing youth matter at all. That's the danger warning. That's the deeper warning behind Milburn, Sunak, and David Miliband, a country where hundreds of thousands of young people drift outside work and education while public debate obsesses over Westminster gossip, is a country misreading its own future because economic growth ultimately depends.
It's tough out there, folks. It's really tough. You know, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. We are in big, big trouble out there. It's not easy. And maybe you're lucky enough to be able to hoard some wealth and put some into some stock and earn yourself some dosh and get enough to survive. But that is very difficult to do. Anyway, there's Professor Tim Wilson for you, folks. I'm going to catch you in the next one, everybody. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining. Peace. Goodbye.